Welcome to the Advancing Excellence podcast. In this episode, AOE President Kimberly Kaler discusses the growing trend of productivity guilt. Explore how social media, the news, our search engines, and even blog posts are telling us all the things we should be doing and how to get out of the guilt cycle you may be trapped in. Join me as we begin the podcast.
Welcome to the Advancing Excellence podcast. My name is Kimberly Kaler. I am the president of AOE, and I'm excited to come to you today to talk about productivity guilt. I just came across a great blog written by Scott Young, and he writes a lot of articles related to productivity, goal setting, training, etc. in the blog space. And this one really spoke to me. Because if you are being bombarded or feel like you're being bombarded like I am with just yet another blog about all the things that you should be doing, it can be a little bit overwhelming. So for example, you should really be exercising 4 times a week. All the water that we're supposed to be drinking, that exercising, no, it's not jogging. Now it's high intensity interval training. Should you be doing intermittent fasting? Don't forget you should be meditating. You should be reading every day. You should be do something to make sure that you're actually challenging your brain to help offset and limit the risk of dementia and Alzheimer's. You should be learning all these other new skills. And everything I just listed, you're supposed to be doing by 8 a.m. You haven't even started your workday yet. So there is quite a bit of productivity guilt that's actually falling into our society at this point. So what do you do about that? If that resonates with you at all, and I know it resonates with me, I set some goals at the beginning of the year in terms of things that I want to make sure that I accomplish this year. And I've shared it on previous podcasts, but meditating every morning, spending some time thinking about leadership, my yoga practice every day, walking, doing something to actually stimulate my brain and learn something every day. Wow, that's a lot. And again, haven't even started the workday yet. So what do we do to help prevent the guilt? Well, first of all, accepting that you'll always be imperfect. One of the tips that Scott Young actually shared is to just know that, you were so bombarded with all this information, all of the things that we should be doing. And while it's great to actually commit to some of these things, and they have obviously lasting benefits, make sure that you are adopting habits that work for you and that you are somewhat flexible and nimble in them as well. And the second step that he noted is you shouldn't be your ideal self already. So the first step is realizing that perfection isn't practical. The second step is realizing that it isn't even desirable. So thinking of advice, and we are bombarded with advice all the time, whether it's from Instagram or different blogs or a news feed. I every time I open a news feed, it seems like, and this is obviously based on my own user preferences and my habits, because the internet is like throwing this up for me. I'm seeing all sorts of why you should plank this long, why you should do this, etc. So advice should be a direction, not a destination. And that means moving from where you are now in the direction it points will probably produce benefits, but taking everything to its logical extreme or conclusion often isn't actually very good, especially if we're starting to stack all those individual pieces of advice can start to have drawbacks because, again, we have a really long list of that productivity that we're putting on ourselves. And then number 3 is starting point is always right here. So the real source of guilt isn't always just that standards imposed are too unrealistic or even undesirable, but because there's a gap in between how we see ourselves and what that blog post just told us, how we should be presenting, how we should be planking, how we should be drinking the water, how we should be learning every day. So make sure you actually look at that for a little bit. So productivity is good, but productivity guilt is bad. Moving forward, what can we do? We'll pick a few goals to work on, or maybe only one. again, I'm looking at my list, and I know that I felt by June that my intentions, my goals, my productivity for the day, even though I was rock solid on doing it, I was pretty exhausted by the time I got to June. I had mastered the habits, but then I was able to take a step back and look and say, okay, these have become commonplace. Are they still serving me? Stop comparing yourself to other people. Separate the nice to have as well from the essential. So most advice is nice to have, and it helps, but only a little. So focus on the essential things that matter for your goals, and then stop feeling guilty about everything else. So again, I think if you just Google Scott Young, I think you'll find some great blog pieces. Give them a read, and then sit with it a little bit and say, hey, what do I need to attack? What do I really want to incorporate into my life? And make sure you're not falling in that productivity guilt trap. Thanks for listening. Please be sure to like our podcast, share it with others. Any topics you want us to talk about, please just drop us a note. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Advancing Excellence podcast. If you have any comments or questions, please get in touch with us at info@aoeteam.com. Don't forget to follow AOE on LinkedIn at Advancing Organizational Excellence, and be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode.